the impact that has on their lives. And we're going to do some, as we go through today, we'll look at the agenda, this is the importance of play in early years, but it's not really about early years, it's about the importance of play throughout the time. How many parents here are from early years Key Stage 1? Okay, how many are older? So Key Stage 1's year 1 and 2? FS1, okay. So I'll just do it again, just so I can kind of gauge the audience. So FS1 and 2, year 1 and 2. Okay, anybody in the early year group? Yeah? That's okay. All relevant, all of that's relevant, and we'll talk about it with older children as we go through as well. But great to see so many of you here from those lower year groups, and you'll already know, I'm sure, yourself the importance just by interacting with your children day in, day out. And we'll come up with some ideas together. With a small group like this, we can get some discussion going as well. We can share some of our ideas ourselves. So we're going to reflect on our own experience in play growing up, the theory of why play is important, play-based learning at Leeds International School, and how you can have your child through play. So first of all, some context. So this is probably the key point to start with, really. Is play important? UNICEF mark it as one of their human rights. Every child should have the right to play. That's put up there with food, with water, with rest, with sleep. So if you don't think it's important, which everybody here does, that's why we're all here, you can see the gravity that it's given on such a big platform to say that this is a fundamental key human right. Children have to have the ability to play. Okay, I think that's really quite meaningful. And then on top of that, when we look at this, we're saying, well, children play in the early years, they play from birth. Well, when you look at this, 80% of the human brain is developed by the age of 3. And we know they're not sitting there at desks listening to me and you teach didactically. They are learning, their brain development is through play and through interaction. And then 90% of the human brain is developed by the age of 5. So again, we're looking at that is all of those early years, those interactions, the interactions that we're just seeing out here now that we just talked about. This is all how children's brains are being developed. And how we're being developed, that's us set for life in many ways. So to start with, what I'd like you to think about, and maybe discuss, because we've got a nice small group here, talk to the person next to you, it's like being in school, and just discuss what you remember about play growing up. What did you like to do? How did you play as a child? It's an interesting thing, we don't get the time to sort of reflect on that, we kind of just dismiss it. So please, I want to hear some voices, talk to each other, and we'll just do 1 minute and we'll feedback. Okay, so what play do you remember growing up? We are going to look at that. Yes. Very interesting. I'd like you to say that to the group, actually. What about you guys? Well, I got that. Mine was very similar. That's what I remember. The 10th building and all these types of things. Okay, just coming back together. It's quite interesting already because the 2 people I was able to speak to, the 3 people I was able to speak to, were talking about how different play was then to now. And the reason I picked this picture was because this is what I remember as play. It's not me, there's you down there, but I used to just be pets. I used to, that's what I did, be outside, I'd be creative. There would be no boundaries on what that would look like. There would be no sort of routine or, this is a pack, this is how you put it together. It would be totally free play. You had a really good point about boredom as well. So go ahead.
So like the kids say, when I was small, I hardly remember that I used the word bored because I was so engrossed that sometimes my mom came looking for me that where is my child? Here now the story is completely different. The children keep, they start looking for you all the time. Like they need stimulation all the time. Like we were so engrossed in our own self. And with our own toys and little things, we did not have too many toys toys, just little toys, and we were busy all the time. But nowadays the kids, they require too much, stimulation, too much stuff, and it's very difficult to keep up with them.
Yeah, and
always they are sorry. Always they use the word bored. I just don't know. Like they don't use this vagueness.
Well, we're going to talk about that later, the difference between free play and sort of this closed play that you were referring to. And you and I, when we were younger, it was very much free play, wasn't it? It was true play. Somebody else.
But today, I think what I really understand the problem of my kids, they also now sometimes complain they're bored. But it's a lot of media, right? So unlike those days, you had no media, no visual media. You only had something from the ground, from the outside, something physically initially available. And that is the problem sometimes. So because we were doing like same building tree houses. Right now my kids, I think everybody's kids would do this from the sofa pillows. Chairs, sofa pillows. And that really inspired myself because when you, as an adult, you look at that, it looks like it's kind of something absurd. Why do we have to do it? What is the interest? But this is something which makes them drives their development.
Absolutely.
They construct something.
Absolutely. And I think not jumping ahead, we're going to look at the media and kind of we use the word play when we're talking about video games and things like that. Whereas again, is that true play? Is it really open-ended play? Is it something where children can develop their imagination? Of course, there's benefits to everything in moderation, but it's a deeper conversation. Yeah, go ahead.
My brain goes.
Yeah, go ahead.
The differences in play.
Yeah.
That's parental.
Yeah.
Given the changes in the world.
Yeah.
Parcels. So parents will let their children loose. I grew up running on the mountainside. I could be age 6 or 8 years old. 3, 5 miles. Away, running. Across the road. I've done 125 candles, running riot, creating damage, just running riot. It's now, I didn't want communities of greens, I will never do it. In an enclosed space, I'm down with my wife, I'm down there, 12 night every night. She can run riot. We're just keeping the town alive. That's my paranoia. Experiences, you mentioned social media? I kind of go, that's the way of the world these days.
And everybody's planning it is.
Probably no different.
The risk is probably not any different, but it's the focus on it, isn't it? The sort of the way our minds work. But going back to, we'll move on in a second, but just when I was at home over Christmas, there was a park that we would always play in, and there'd always be kids there playing freely. I never saw anybody there the whole time. We were just sitting there. It's sad, but we're probably the reason for this. I'm saying this as a new dad myself, because you're right, you're constantly thinking, right, well, think about all the threats and stuff, but it does hinder play and it does hinder that free play. So, how would you describe yourself as a child? So let's just get literally 30 seconds. We have had a really long conversation and I didn't expect that. Great, thank you very much. So just what kind of skills did you have? What kind of things did you like to do? And then I want you to just think very briefly, do you still have those skills? So for example, growing up, like I said, dens, I'd always role playing and playing different games with. It's always the cheap toys that the kids like, isn't it? That's it. But the other thing that I'd say is I was very creative. I was very artistic. I not now have a very big appreciation for art. I read Mr. Stipeck talk all the time about different theatre and art and music, but I'm not artistic myself. So where does that come from? So just have a talk for 20 seconds, and then we'll just get 1 or 2 points. So what kind of things would you describe yourself as a kid playing? What kind of skills would you say you had? Do you still have those skills now? Is that the same now? No. Yes.
Но он имеет в виду, престижность какая-то и челочка. Это все как бы другая событие.
Yeah. Well, that's fair. Yeah.
Social skills.
Okay, so that's interesting. Yes, okay. Good point I hadn't thought about actually. So, a lot of conversations I'm just listening to were very much, and it's kind of the way thank you for being so engaged by that, because, you know, I didn't expect to have such a nice sized people to do this with. And in a minute I'll go on to be the one who's talking the most. But it's wonderful to hear, because this is very much in line with my experience over here was about creativity stopping. And why does it stop? It stops because we don't have those outlets anymore. We don't have that free play. We don't, have that kind of just role playing with your friends, making Barbie houses or whatever it might be. We don't have that. However, so that's what apart from you over here, who's got a graphic designer, so has managed to continue that. But even then, you were saying that's the designs of other people. So it's not your free choice, but still, you have managed to carry on that creative path. But you brought a good point. Something that we do continue with is those social skills, those social interactions that we learn. Would you like to share your little anecdote there about your brother?
Okay, so my brother would be Lego, crazy, and Macron and all of that, and I was Barbie upstairs my whole life. But now we, have the luxury of having something which not a lot of people have. But how do we play together? So, for him making a Lego house where Barbie can actually play into, or making a car, so how did we play together? And now as adults, I can see it how we would take somebody's likes and preferences and try and find a way in work and social settings, how we can accommodate that into work.
Yeah.
So what do you like? How are we going to take this food you like and make a good dinner for everybody?
So I wonder if some of more like the kind of socially acceptable traits, let's be honest, of being sociable, being that kind of stuff is something we carry on. But I wonder if some of the more eccentric things like creativity or performing on stage, they're the kind of things that maybe as we get older we feel a bit more self-conscious because we don't have that outlet to play, or do you kind of regress it? I don't know. Do you ever? Yeah.
Like interacting with other people. This is like talking to over here. What I technically less is being aware of what's going on and feeling and finding ways to to entertain them, to find ways to do something.
Yeah. Well, boredom. It's the same, isn't it? It's that, you know, we were bored, weren't we? There was always something to our imagination. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a good point.
The problem with that is we live in a world of instant gratification. Am I going to cook dinner, or am I going to go downstairs and have KFC in 2 seconds? And we would wait for dinner. If your mom told you dinner's in an hour and a half, suck it up. You'd be fine with it. So she would tell me, go find something to play with. That boredom didn't exist because we didn't want it now. Now I can flip through 700 TV channels and be on my phone at the same time, and I'm still bored. Because where's my next fix? The problem with my kids is that I'm doing it.
Yeah,
we were never bored as kids because we didn't know about these things.
I've got a really good example of this when, you know, a lot of us in school will have young children, okay, we've been here that long, we've grown up cars now, so there you go. But we're there talking about, what are you doing at the weekend? Can we do this the weekend? We're going to go here, we're going to go see them, we're going to do X, Y, Z, okay? Even the beach, okay? I remember when my mum would come to me and say, David, we're going to Northern Towers, which is a huge theme park in the UK, okay? Wow, when? 3 months from now. I would be fine. I'd be so excited. I'd be looking forward to it. I wouldn't be like, you know, constantly, oh, well, that's too long ago. But here, it's that constant, right, okay, what are we going to do next? We'll probably just come back to that and allowing children that free play rather than us constantly trying to fill their days and entertain them. Anyway, we've gone down a bit of a rabbit hole, but I really enjoyed it. So thank you very much for being so willing to participate. Okay, so play and creativity, I love it because since having a baby, I love living room. I don't know if anyone's watched that. That really shows examples of how to play and how to be creative. And I did not expect it. I thought it was going to be another Paw Patrol or something like that. But no, it's very, very good. It's got real examples of how children can use imagination to play. And the reason I kind of put that in that awe and wonder picture, which I think they capture so well in that program, is this was a real thing that happened to me before coming here. So I used to teach, I used to be the science lead at school in the UK. So this is an example of that creativity and that play. So I was science lead, I teach year 5 and 6 science, but at the time, like I said, it was also FS. I would teach FS1 and FS2 as well. So I had a very varied day, amazing experience for me. And because I was early years, that was kind of my mindset. The kids in year 5 had finished their kinetic energy lesson. Okay, so great, brilliant. Then what I said was, okay, well, why don't we use the skills that we've learned? You know, you finished it, we've got time, let's do a little extension. You've now got the rest of the session there's all this junk bubbling here, there's all this stuff here. Use it to create, to play, to come together and create a feasible device that uses wind power as energy. Not one kid could do it. Not one kid. Now that would be different here. It would be different here. But in the UK, it would be different here, but I still think what I'm about to tell you would still be also true. Okay, so I'll finish my story first. The next day I went down to FS1, and as an idea, I just said, guys, there's a jump bubbling, go and play, go and create a device that uses wind power as energy. Get them a little background into it. They all did. They all created something that was feasible. Okay, it wasn't perfect, no, but they had the creativity, they had the ideas, and also they didn't care if they were wrong. And that creeps in, I think, as well. So it's interesting to think how play can kind of be that kind of guide for creativity, but we lose it somewhere. Most of us lose it somewhere along the way, to the point that even by the time we're in year 5, how sad is that? That kids can't think in that same play-based way where they're actually, they know they're not making a wind power device that's really going to work, but they're giving it a go, they're working together, using the ideas they've got, and they're working as a team to play together. Okay, just some examples. We've gone so far ahead here, really, but you know, just some examples of play in the natural world around us. You know, it's not just us who play; it's mammals play, depending on the size of their brain, depends on how much they play. So, I don't know if anyone's seen this. It's worth watching if you haven't, because it's fascinating. Young dolphins play the leaf game, so they'll drop leaves. They'll work together to hunt these leaves, pick them up, and then drop them again. So, a great example of play in nature. And then also just mindset and kind of what our perception is. So this has kind of changed over the last 10 years, but I remember when I was in the UK, I would have parents come to me and say, you know, in FS1, the kids are just playing. They wouldn't have any sort of respect or sort of reflection on the fact that that's how they learned, first and foremost, but also the importance of it. So when you look at different cultures around the world, and this was a group, I'm not going to try and say it, I did try it beforehand, but it didn't go well. But this is a hunter-gatherer tribe in Africa, okay, and their whole education is based on play. They were studied by some educational researchers recently. Their confidence levels were way higher than the children in the West. Their creativity was, their ability to regulate was higher. And when they speak to all the elders, it's the same sort of answer. It's, well, how else are they supposed to learn? They learn through play. Like, to them, it's just obvious. And it's in the West where we've sort of moved away a little bit to the point where we kind of don't take that, we take it for granted, I guess. And this is another really interesting point. So when you look at this class here, obviously, 1950s, this picture's taken. And what kind of words jump out to you? What kind of world do you think these kids live in? Anything?
Singing.
Steer, yeah. What were you saying?
I just thought maybe it's a kind of singing lesson.
They could be, and you know what would happen then, everyone would be singing the same thing. You know, is there space for play in this world? Well, not at this particular point in the day, correct. But the difference is they would only be in school for very small times in the day. The rest of the day, going back to what you were saying, they would be outside, they would be free, they would be playing. And you didn't speak, all you've got to do is speak to your granddad or whoever. They will tell you that's even more than when we were growing up. It's very much about being outside and playing. And if you had a stick that was all of a sudden something, the imagination would run wild. If they had some bricks, they'd be building something, whatever. It was constantly outside. So unfortunately, this reduction in the ability to play has sort of led to an increase in mental health problems with children. Now, whether we know there's a different way of sort of measuring this, of course, things are more reported now. But I think, incidentally, we all see it as well, that children who don't have that opportunity can have a negative impact on their mental health. So the other thing I wanted to look at, which we touched on briefly, was what is play? So all of these things here have kind of been labelled with the terminology of play. But are they true play? What are your thoughts? No? No? Okay, same for me. They all have a place, without a doubt. You've got lovely teamwork here, I'm sure. Children learn a lot from being part of a team, following instructions, but they're following instructions. Okay? They're here, they're sitting on something that's just going round. Lovely, wonderful. Great time on it. But again, are they learning? And here, Minecraft, very much rigid in its format. There's some fantastic creations. I'm blown away when year 6 or 7 do a topic and they're using it as an example. Brilliant. But again, it's formulaic in the sense that it's not true free play. An example of this I always give is Lego, where we got visited by Lego. They were blown away by what we're doing in school with some of the Lego robotics stuff. But the interesting thing there is, when I was a kid, I remember just having a box of Lego. And if I wanted to create something, I would create something from the bricks of Lego. Now, when you buy Lego, it's very much, this is a pirate ship, this is an airplane, this is whatever. These are your instructions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what this does, it gives children what's called like a low locus of self-control. Okay, so it says to kids that they're not good enough, they're not creative enough. There's lots of studies done on this. So these guys now, they think that they can't have an impact on the world around them because of the type of play that they do. It's interesting because it's been wonderful having a conversation, because having this feedback, it reflects very much that our life didn't look like this for most of us, I think, apart from maybe the sports element. But the majority of our play was not done that way, whereas now, what I would hazard to guess that percentage, a large percentage of children plays within probably 2 of these 3 different formats here. Okay, so definition of play is very, very difficult to sort of compile one definition that fits all, okay? Because there's lots of different theories on this. But the definition of play that kind of resonates the most and has kind of been used is that play is freely chosen, self-directed. Play is transformative with new meanings of familiar objects. So, for example, my son today picked up a spoon and was using it as a hammer on his car to fix it, which made a lovely noise. Play relates to and builds upon knowledge and experiences. So, for example, there you're looking at role play. You're looking at all the role players in the FS classrooms, in year 1 and 2 classrooms, where they're able to use language. We'll talk a little bit more about role play and how important that is. Play is active engagement, where the individuals are using their minds or bodies, and play is enjoyable. The meaning and value of play, I'll read it because I wouldn't normally read it, you can read it, but it's very small. The meaning and value of play are embedded in one's knowledge of play, past experiences with play, and cultural values regarding play. This meaning changes and evolves as one encounters play in a new circumstance and context. We'll just talk briefly about that, actually, about the role play, because that's something that, again, we would do naturally. But it's wonderful to have opportunities to give children these examples. There's a literacy guru in education, if you want to call it that, called Pi Corbett, and he very much believes that children need to be able to speak. Well, he believes it's obvious, really, but he's put it out there in manageable terms for all of us, really. It's that children need to speak before they can rap. There were some brilliant examples of this back when I was still teaching in the UK. The SATs papers, which are very, very important for children finishing year 6 in the UK. They had a question about being in a hot air balloon and looking down on the world around them. Well, the children I taught had never been higher than the second floor of a house. So how are they supposed to write about that? How are they supposed to have those experiences? So just like when you see a jungle set up in a year 1 classroom, children, obviously, we can't send them to the jungle, but what we can do, we can put them in a situation where they're using that language, where they're using that imagery, that imagination. So the main reason for role play is to put them in situations that you can't normally put them in a drop of a hat. So go into space, being a pilot, being a fireman, whatever it might be. And then they're able to use that language in a communicative way, and then they're able to keep that language, use it properly in context. All of a sudden that goes into their writing and also helps with their development of speech and thought as well. So it's very important. I'm not sure we're going to particularly land on that today, apart from there, unless we that ourselves. Okay, so how can we incorporate meaningful play at home? Okay, there's a lot here. I was going to give you guys to read it. Can you read it? You can read it. Okay. If not, just let me know. This is taken from the DFE in England. So these are the 2 most pertinent sections. Any thoughts? All agreed? Yeah? Okay.
It's the first one, play comes in the activities that children have
Yeah.
if they can. I mean,
Yeah, go on, give an example.
It's not always a given.
No.
In my experience, I know the fact that my child, the English was winners.
Mm-hmm.
And I adore how he plays and absorb the creations
Yeah.
with my me. No.
But
I can engage with him
Yes.
in a different kind of way.
That's right.
It's just about, it's not just about having fun, it's about finding ethically and finding our way, what makes it valuable.
Yes.
Space for us to stay in this play and what is fun for us. So while thinking about what's fun for the child,
Yeah.
forget about our own well-being and growth,
Yeah.
our own understanding of what fun is, and
Yeah.
making it fun for both of us. So sincerely, because children are very much, they're very sensitive to hypocrisy and being false. When you feel that mom is pretending she's having fun, it's no longer.
But I think also there, it's okay not to be, so, like I said, my son's nearly 2, okay? And so I have to kind of remember everything that I tell other people if they're in FS, which is difficult, okay? But, so for example, cars are the other thing, okay? So I'm obsessed with cars, loves cars. And, he's very good at saying yes and no, okay? So sometimes I go, do you want to come and play with you? And now is the new thing at the moment. So it's almost humiliating now. But then, I'll give him the space, and then 10, 15 minutes later, he'll come and get me, or maybe he won't, that's okay. But it's about us giving them the space to be independent learners. I mean, very rarely, children very rarely properly play with each other until the age of 3, okay? You see that, in nursery, they'll play alongside, and, obviously if 2 kids are playing with cars, great, but actually true play together generally starts around the age of 3. So for anything they give us as parents before that is, and after that, is a wonderful thing, it's a connection. But it's about, like you said, kind of providing the opportunities for different types of play, because, if dad and son play Transformers, that's a lovely thing, that's a lovely connection they have. I'm sure there are things that are your connection with them as well. But that kind of goes back to being a varied play, varying options for the child to play with and choose, and then us not being perfect, don't play cards. But yeah, so it's a really good point. And have fun. Yeah, it's not always that easy to and I think also as a parent, I know all the grandparents do this, and they had ideas of what play would look like with Adam and my son. They'd go, right, I've got this, he's going to love this. And he goes over and plays with the box. And he doesn't want to play with them, he wants to play with the box, he wants to play with his cousin, whatever it is. So again, it's us kind of dropping our ego a little bit by realising, how everyone plays. So I've got some examples of here linked to our curiosity approach, which is mostly embedded in FS. Okay, and that's where we follow children's individual passions and interests. Okay, so I'll kind of use it as an example because it's something that we can all do at home. So like I said, cars. So, we've got the toolkit out, we've got car books, we've got the actual cars themselves. Outside, we've got like dirt tracks that we've just made. All this is free to make, it's just put stuff together. But just things, see, trying to use my early years knowledge here with this parent. So, just looking at what your child's interested in and how you can manipulate that into the environment around them so they've got options to play. So what I kind of wanted to do, and I'm conscious you've all talked a lot, so I'll just come up into one or 2 questions. But look at these pictures here, we've got a few. And what kind of skills do you think children are developing through play by doing this? Imagination, yeah? Fine motor. So, a bit like you can't write if you can't talk, you can't write if you haven't got the fine motor skills to do it. So how do we start? We give them opportunities to get messy. So you've also got sensory experiences. Anything else? Creativity, yeah, absolutely. What about here? You've got the cups. You could be doing some quantity, you could be doing some measurement, you could be doing some capacity. It's like, it seems so obvious, it seems so silly, but by giving them a range of items, I'm very fortunate getting to go into these classes and see it every day, in that something that seems so simple can be the most popular thing. Yesterday, in a class in FS1, there were these plasticine equipment out, different shape cuts and stuff. The children were making planets, and they made one big one. They weren't different colours or anything, but there was one big one, that's the sun, it's the biggest one, and they were trying to arrange it the way they thought it would go. It was amazing that the conversation came from that, the social interaction came from that, the fine motor skills, the knowledge, the scientific understanding. It was brilliant to see. Okay, here, this little fellow has got a magnifying glass. So here we're looking at scientific understanding. She's observing shells and rocks and things that were on that table. I always say this is something that we have to be careful with. Anyone who's been on a tour with me will have heard me say this, but this is something we have to be careful with in Dubai. This is something that back in Wales or England or anywhere else, we have the opportunity to see nature and understand and observe it closely and see the changes in temperature, see the different insects, see the different animals. Here, the children don't understand it between 38 and 42 degrees, so we have to ensure that we're giving options to do things like this. Also the hydroponics, the fact we've got the forest school now, which is great, so we've got those opportunities for children to engage in that natural environment. So understanding nature, observing change, observing differences, which is the basis of all scientific understanding. Just something simple as that, that's such a big explanation. Over here, we've got the role play, we've got the small world role play, so children are using dinosaurs, coming up with a story, creating a world for them, using that language that they otherwise wouldn't be able to use, using their creativity skills, using their construction skills. It's so much going on there. Here as well, so this was part of a role play in FS2 that the children were interested in coffee. I mean, none of this really matters what the topic is. It really doesn't. It couldn't matter less. It's about, again, what are they interested in and what can we do. When I was in FS2 here, actually, but the kids were reading a book and it had a garden centre in it. The kids had no idea what a garden centre was because in the UK they're everywhere. Here there's two, I think. But we contacted that garden centre, we went down, and the kids, in fact, what a trip that was. These guys were amazing down at the garden centre. They let them work there for a couple of hours, planting things, taking them back. The children grew them, they looked after them. Obviously, a lot of people to play, watering them, creating their own shop. And then the parents came in and bought the plants. They're in, so here with the coffee, something they're interested in. So let's go with it. And again, you've got quantity, you've got texture, you've got fine motor, you've got reading by them being exposed to new words. They can't read them, but it doesn't matter. Same here, creating an inviting area that's just a little bit different, giving them the opportunity to experience old technology, but technology nonetheless where they're able to feel the pressure of the buttons. Again, that would be ICT. You've got fine motor with pens, you've got role play on the phone. So again, it's just giving a varied kind of diet for the kids of what we put out. Okay, here are some examples as well, so just simple things to do. So standard water play can be an early introduction to science and maths. Learning that water is not fluid, not solid, and it can be measured in different size containers. Playing with dough or clay, drawing and painting pictures, dressing up, playing with dolls, encouraging creativity, imagination, expression of feelings, building blocks, jigsaws and shape saws, help with recognising different shapes and sizes, putting things in order and developing logic. We don't really think of that as play sometimes, when the kids got just lots of the cups, the plastic cups. I mean, imagine the stuff that's given to their brain, being able to stack them, being able to roll them, being able to put them inside one another. Playing ball games, dancing, running, climbing, helping to develop body movement, growth and fine motor skills and coordination. Games like turn taking, sharing, social interaction. Singing, playing simple music instruments, helping them develop rhythm, listening and hearing. So lots there to consider. And I'll give you a second just to read through this. This again is. Do I need to read this one again? Sorry. We used to have a big screen here, now it's like. So this is basically coming back to what we were talking about before. This is UNICEF. So before we had the DFE, this is now UNICEF. It's interesting the two are combined. So play is meaningful, play is joyful, play is engaging. I'll see if I can get this sent out to you all. So you've all done the sign. If anyone hasn't done the sign, just let them know, and then we can get it sent out to you. Play is interactive. Play is socially interactive. Okay. And then here there's just some simple examples, but I think it's kind of gone over. Apart from that one, actually, so trial and error, so letting the kids fail. Giving them the opportunity to kind of, if they're building something, it doesn't go well. Okay, so nearly done now. So where next? Okay, I think this is quite hard thing really. We talked about how our creativity possibly hasn't had a chance to continue from childhood or what have you. But the way that school has changed, so we've been outstanding in the lower schools in many years for the past 10 years. And these are Key Stage 1 classrooms. Now, 10 years ago, you'd never see Key Stage 1 classrooms looking like this, because it would be, I mean, again, I kind of go back, it's illogical, but it would be, they learn like this in FS, but then they go into year 1, and they sit down and they listen to me. But, I mean, if they've learned to be independent, engaged, focused, socially active in FS, then you can take that away from the Key Stage 1. Where's the logic in that? So when you go in, obviously it's slightly different. You've got more space on the tables for children to work independently because they're ready for that. But at the same time, there's also options into construction, art, independent maths, independent literacy around the outside of the room as well. So we've still got those environments there. So that's something positive. And I actually feel like it's replicated higher up the school as well. So in year 3, for example, you've got their flexible seating, you've got the areas for children to collaborate how they want. Devices do play a part in this as well, though it's contentious of course, but they do allow children that freedom and that creativity. So you've got sort of a kind of path going through school that allows children to still have that creativity and independence that probably wasn't there in education 10, 15 years ago. And then, this always makes me laugh. Do you remember this film? Thank you, you get 10 points, well done. Okay, unfortunately you were late, unfortunately. No, she's not 10 but this film was hilarious back in the 80s. I was too young, but you know, it was a funny film. I remember watching it as a kid. And the irony was that he was playing at work, and that was what was funny. I think if you showed this to a kid now, it's not particularly very funny because that's the way that work has gone, and the way that our workplaces are going. Whether we realise it or not subconsciously, we're recognising and appreciating the importance of play. And I think that's a lovely way to finish, and that maybe as we move forward, we can all be a little bit more like me. Who knows? You know? So anyway, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Any questions at all? Because I know I had some questions on the board. I can have a little look if you would like.
Sorry, what was the name of the guru?
Pi Corbett. The English one.
Yes.
Pi Corbett.
Okay.
Corbett. C-O-R-B-E-T-T.
What is the name of that movie?
Big. Well, it's a good recommendation for tonight.
With Tom Hanks. They do it. My son never enjoyed it. It's Tom Hanks.
I know that you all sent some questions in. Was there any
Tom
questions
Hanks.
that wanted to be asked?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I know we've covered most of them around Phil Awards. Anything?
Just a
Yeah,
question.
sure.
Nowadays we have to do structured learning.
Yeah.
Like I myself, I cannot blame anybody, but since it's such a competitive world,
Yeah.
my son is there in year 2. I have a very structured learning. Like we have a schedule that we go in, and when he comes back, he has to do this, or what he is just like, we have to do some studies, and then we have music classes, we have this one going. So it's more of scheduled life. So their idea of play, the free play thing is like either on the Nintendo or they don't have that idea of imagination of how to do something normal, like they just sit with the iPad or so. I will just keep beating myself up what to do that with those and do something different.
Yeah.
That we have too many things in the kids nowadays. They just
I feel like the answer there sometimes is using the parks, the outside areas, because,
but that is
and I know they also don't want to also do it, they want to be in the house, they want to do this, but there has to be a break in that cycle, I feel, sometimes, and I think
he
that's
does
challenging.
go out
It's
for
more,
his football class, or he does go out,
Yeah.
but that is more as it's more structured, like he's
Yeah.
learning teamwork, but that free play going around is like somewhere lost
Yeah.
in all this.
yeah, I mean again, I'm not saying it's going to work as year 2, because obviously if it's in that system and that structure and that routine, but I think still providing an opportunity is key, because you might be very much surprised, you might not be, but it might be also limited devices, it might be whatever you choose as a parent, it's everybody's different, so please keep that in mind, but by giving them an option, I think is key, giving them the variance and the choice, I think is the way to go, and see what
just a suggestion, one thing what you can do
to play music, right?
Yeah.
But he does.
He does.
He's using that as an outlet to be creative. Like he can create any form of music. Give him half an hour's time. This is your time. You think what kind of music? It may not make any sense right now.
Yeah.
But that may probably something.
No,
which
he
is
has
for
a
him.
different kind of play. Like he does go for a football class.
But then he learns over there, right?
Yeah.
So here, it is his thought. He is thinking, this is how I want to play.
You're referring to
the
the free
music. So
play.
he's thinking.
Yeah.
Nobody's teaching him anything. If since he doesn't go out, he doesn't have the time. Then give him this half an hour. You think and you play whatever you want to, however you want to play.
I was going to ask on your point there. Is it a case of child always wants to watch cartoons or play on the iPad?
He's not into screen time. Like it's just like we have decided on our own, both respecting each other's thing. That I have decided like only like 20 minutes, and he's also quite okay with it. On weekend is separate. It goes to 35 minutes, but on 20 minutes we are stuck, and he does respect it.
We have similar background campuses.
Yeah.
And we say that hopefully, no,
No.
you go outside to play.
Yeah.
When we go outside to play, the first 5 or 10 minutes, you look around and actually want us to play,
Yes.
which we say something bad, but no,
Yeah.
this is your time to
This
play
is your time.
with other children.
Yeah.
Go and find someone to play with. And it sounds like
No, but actually I'm the same.
But-
I'm the same.
Win-wins.
He is.
Yeah.
She's
He's
literally running right.
Yeah.
I don't mean tearing.
No, but
She's found someone or something. Or
it's kind of our own fears, isn't it? Our own fears of will they play outside, will they play independently? And, I'll be honest, I myself will give you a lot of my own experience today. I've been shocked to start nursery this week, and I didn't know that was going to be running down to nursery. And it was my fear of, oh my gosh, is he going to walk in, is he not going to walk in, whatever. Completely unfabricated, completely rubbish. Okay, but it's our fear, isn't it? Of they go outside, are they going to play with others? Are they going to play independently? Are they going to be creative? It's us really, because kids look at the pandemic, kids are incredibly useful. Kids were incredibly resilient. Kids were the ones who came back to school or started school like nothing had happened at the start. So we've kind of got to give them that opportunity, I think. And again, they'll always surprise us, I always genuinely believe. Any other questions at all? Yes, go ahead. Okay.
So my son is an FS1.
Yeah.
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 After school till like 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
So somehow the other has engaged him in the remote game. But when the other kids come to our home or he goes to somebody's house, it's okay. They play on their own.
Yeah.
But at home, I'm the one who's getting instruction to build things.
Yeah.
And he is
I think every mother's choice.
But with his father, it's different.
Okay.
He's the one who's building, but with me, it's always different. Like, he's giving me things, he's giving me example, he's telling me,
Okay.
build this, do that, he will give me the pieces, how to do it.
Can I just say that? That's play. So that's actually that's great. It's got both things going on, and again, it's those different relationships at different times. So it could well be a boss on a construction site there with those skills, yeah. But that is play. So and it's wonderful that it's including you in it. So I wouldn't try and change that whatsoever. If it's got a different relationship.
I intentionally don't want to change it, but
Yeah.
I don't understand this. Who is playing?
Yeah. Exactly.
You are the boy.
Yeah. But again, look at the social skills he's getting.
Yeah.
Look at the organisation he's getting from that. Look at the construction skills even though you're doing it. He's getting from that. It's being modelled to him. You're modelling it to him. He wants you to model it to him. It might be the secret is you're a better builder. Any other questions at all? Well, thank you so much. It's been wonderful having such a lovely group who have been so engaged today and giving me a bit of back and forth. It really does make a difference. So thank you so much and I appreciate it.